welcome to the Natural View. I'm Maggie Jacqua. I'm the content director of Whole Foods Magazine, and I'm here with my co-host, Todd Polly of 24 Stories Marketing. Hi, Todd.
Hi, Maggie. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too. And we have a special guest here today. We have Micah Osborne. He's the president of Stratum Nutrition. So good to have you here with us.
Good to have you.
Hey, Micah.
Hey, how's it going?
Good.
All right, so we are continuing a very special project that we're doing here in the July print issue, July 2022 of Whole Foods Magazine. We're shining a spotlight on leaders throughout the natural products industry. And we're going to have expanded coverage on Stratum in that issue. So we encourage everybody to read that. But today, we're really honored to be talking to Micah for some insights on what makes Stratum so successful. I mean, this is a company that's been around for generations. So I want to start with just talking about the company and, how the company got started and how it's grown into what it is today.
Yeah, so Stratum Nutrition actually started with my grandfather. He was in the Korean War. Whenever he came back from the Korean War, he actually started a company, a chicken company. So we sold eggs all throughout the United States. He actually ran that company for about over 60 years. And my entire family was involved, except for me. Actually, I ended up, as I got out of college, he had some other businesses on the side that he was working on. And one of them happened to be ESM Technologies, which is kind of what became Stratum Nutrition later. As part of having chickens and lots of eggs, we had a lot of eggshells laying around. We also sold egg products, so liquid egg and tanker trucks full of egg yolks, egg whites, and so on. With all those leftover eggshells, we needed to find something to do with them other than just throwing them away. My grandfather was a big proponent of not wasting anything. He always got really upset. He'd come into my office, have me write some stuff down. I'd pull out a new piece of paper, start writing, and he'd get on to me and he'd go over to the wastebasket and pull out a piece of paper, flip it over, and have me, write my notes on that and stuff. So, he also had a slogan, he wanted to use all of the chicken but the cluck. And so part of that was, what can we do with eggshells? So he found that, that membrane just on the inside of an eggshell was good for many things, but one of those is joint health. And so he figured out how to get that membrane just off of the eggshell. And then he also, working with scientists and stuff, figured out how to put together a formulation that would work well for joint health. I remember seeing him sitting at his dining room table in the very beginning, kind of pushing pills together with different formulas that they had put together so that he could try them out on his friends. But that's how we got started. So Stratum Nutrition now is a multi-ingredient company. We distribute ingredients for other companies that have great technologies, mainly proprietary branded ingredients that have a lot of clinical research. But we got our start with eggshell membrane.
So it was upcycling long before upcycling was like the trendy term.
Yeah. We definitely never talked about upcycling. It was more of just being, using what we had. My grandfather also didn't like the word waste stream. It was a poorly utilized resource in his mind. And so, he always was looking at, how can we use more and get more out of what we have.
So how have some of those practices that your grandfather put in place, besides making it the whole genesis of NEM, but day-to-day leadership and business, how did some of those practices come into play as the company grew, as you came to lead the company?
Yeah. I think a lot of it was, a lot of the habits, I guess, that we started right off the bat have been really good for the company. Those habits being just, we like to, I guess you call it frugal, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So we like to not necessarily do it the way everybody else did it. We're always looking for ways to get the most out of our budget and, figure out ways to do things more efficiently and so on, which has helped us throughout the years. However, it's also something that we've had to break the habit in some areas, because sometimes, as we've gained more and more success, we also have to look at ways, sometimes time costs more than necessarily money. And so actually, over the last few years, we've spent more time or discussions around, maybe we need to go ahead and spend that money to just be quicker about the way we're doing things and so on. But so there's good and there's bad, to it, and just figuring out how to take the good and kind of fix the bad, I guess. So.
So Todd and I work with your team a lot on different projects, and it's always a joy to be with your whole team. So there's something throughout the company that just people are happy, they're satisfied, they're productive. Could you talk to us I know a lot of it comes from your grandfather and kind of a mission and motto that's carried through. Can you talk about some of the philosophies that drive the business?
Yeah. I think it really comes from the fact that we really do care about our employees. We also care about their families too. I think it's very important. If we're not taking care of their families also, then that's going to come back to work with them, and it's going to ultimately, in the long run, that's not going to be a good thing. So, we try to run a company that's very family minded. My grandfather also always talked about how we don't just hire the employee, we hire their family, because their family's giving them to us for a period of time, and stuff. So I think we try to keep that in mind. Also, though, I think some of it's the way we do things. Some of it also is, we come from, the plant is and the offices are in a smaller town. And, a lot of the people that we work with, we've known throughout the years in different ways and so on. So, I think there's some of that too, that kind of comes along. But then in addition to all that, we want to have fun in the work we do. And, I like to work with people that I have fun with and stuff. And I know it's going to be the same for others, whether it's with a customer or a vendor or whatever, we want to make sure that it's an enjoyable experience, because it's what we do every day. So, but,
yeah, right. Hanging out with you and your team, you definitely see that comes across. I'm wondering how that also translates to some of your leadership style. It seems really collaborative. There's definitely that team spirit. And so can you talk a little bit about your own philosophy in terms of how you approach leadership?
Yeah, I think, in discussions we've had before, I think I've called my leadership style maybe more conversational or so. I mean, a lot of times I don't feel like I'm necessarily really working. I mean, I sit down and I have conversations with my managers and, the directors and so on, and just try to help them figure out how to, get through whatever problems they have. I mean, I feel like that's my main job, is how do I help them fix the problems? I'm not really fixing them. It's them. It's just, I'm more of a coach, I think. Mm-hmm. However, on top of that, though, we also have to have systems. There's about 7 or 8 years ago, we were turned on to kind of a new system for running our management. It's called Traction, or Entrepreneurs Operating System, or whatever. So it's just a system that gets us together, on a regular intervals to plan the quarter, plan the year, plan 3-5 years, and so on. And then everybody makes commitments as to what we're going to get done in those timeframes, and then holding each other accountable. I like that because it's also holding each other accountable instead of just like the boss keeping the employee accountable. It's more of a peer-based accountability, which really helps me out a lot. And then it kind of frees me to just sit down and have conversations about the commitments they've made, how that's going. Do we need to make adjustments? Is that reasonable? And so on. And it really, I feel like it works well.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see the difference when it's really collaborative and people feel that ownership of their responsibility, so much more motivated and driven. So it comes through. So kudos to that. But given that, I mean, obviously we've had some rough few years. All companies have had their challenges. Can you share a story about some challenges you've had along the way? Maybe not during COVID, maybe during COVID, but and just how the company has grown from that, what you've learned, any takeaways?
Yeah, well, I'd say the biggest challenge is, with the eggshell membrane NEM, in developing that, it was a brand new product. Nobody knew what eggshell membrane was for. It was definitely an uphill battle. We had to create all the science, had to put everything together for it. So taking something from an idea, through to where we're at now, where we're selling, all over the world and so on. It taught us patience. So, some people have asked, how have we been as successful as we have? And I feel like, we've got thick foreheads, we just kind of stay at it. And, I've been here, in August, it'll be 19 years. And, some people looking at it say, hey, it happened quickly, but, it took quite a bit of time. And so I think that's taught us patience. It's also taught us that, anything worth doing is difficult, and you just kind of, you keep at it, and you ultimately you'll get there. More recently, during the pandemic, we definitely learned that you definitely need a team to get through. I mean, the complexity of the issues that were coming at everybody all at once, from all kinds of different directions. You had the disease you had to deal with, and lack of information, and what policies you're going to set. But then on the other side, you had supply chain issues that were going on at the same time. Customers were having significant issues that were disrupting things, but so were suppliers. I mean, it was kind of coming at us all from every angle, which I think then stressed the importance of a team, and the fact that you have things, spread out, you have clear understanding as to who's responsible for what, and then you trust the teammates to get things done, and so on. We did well through the pandemic. Our best years growth wise were during that time, and although things weren't easy, but it worked out. And I feel like it's because we had a strong team, and we just kind of all did our part. But
yeah, that makes sense. You mentioned patience, and when you mention it, it makes me think our industry has grown so much. There's this mix of family-owned businesses, and then there's also the big corporations that have gotten involved in a big way. And a lot of times when that happens, patience isn't the word, right? It's about what's the next quarter results. And so I'm wondering, given that, as you look at the industry as a whole and where it's going, do you have any advice, for the industry as a whole in terms of where you think it should head? What are the right things to do? And maybe it's some of the initiatives that Stratum has in play. I know this is a light question for a Friday morning, so just but a couple of thoughts on industry as a whole, and where you might see that headed, where you think it should go.
Yeah. Well, industry from a whole is probably maybe above my pay grade or whatever. That's kind of difficult to get your arms around. But
sure.
I can talk a little bit more from my experience recently. So we brought on a new partner or so. We now have a private equity group that works with us. Actually, even before then, we had a large. Even though we were a family business, for the last 11 years, we've been also part owned by a large animal nutrition company. So in that, you've got this mix of delivering for the quarter, but also patience in the fact that things are gonna grow at the speed they're gonna grow, and there are things you can do to, whether it's spend more money or pull different levers, but there's also a diminishing return. There's a point where, patients come in and stuff, but how do you balance the two? And I really think it has to do with, the goal setting that you do, and understanding that like innovation and discovery and, a lot of the development side of things can take time and to get it right. And you got to give them time and not strap them with, quarterly deliverables or whatever. But on the other side, the company has to deliver to its shareholders and, on a quarterly basis and hit its goals and so on. So I think a lot of it comes down to making sure that incentives are in the right place for all of the stakeholders. And then in addition to that, making sure that you're realistic and you have the hard conversations with people. There'll be setbacks and stuff, but you don't just keep pressuring people to the point of breaking or whatever. You got to make adjustments and so on.
Yeah.
Anyways, but from an industry as a whole, I mean, the companies seem to continue to get bigger that we're working with. There's more and more of our customers are all actually the same group, being bought by companies. However, it seems like, in my opinion, it seems like the ones that are the most dynamic still kind of allow quite a bit of autonomy in the companies that they buy, so that they keep that culture and they're able to keep doing the thing that made them attractive for purchase or whatever. Anyways, but I hope that we see more of that, that we don't start, losing the different flavors because we all kind of get blended into, one flavor or whatever.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Stay true to our roots. There's so much passion in this industry and we don't want to lose that.
Yeah. But it seems like we're seeing more investment where that's happening, where they are allowing the things to stay pretty autonomous or different.
That's good. That's a smart move, I think. So benefits them. So looking ahead, what is on the horizon for Stratum?
I would say more of the same. I mean, we're going to kind of keep our heads down and keep pushing on the things that have worked so far. With our new partnership with Maxim Partners, the intent is to try to grow faster by adding some acquisition to the company. I feel like we've built an expertise around commercializing proprietary branded, dietary supplement ingredients. I think we can help other companies do that, whether it's, fill in the holes wherever they're struggling with, whether that's regulatory or sales or marketing or whatever. And so, if we can add some more of that to the fold or so through acquisition or on the other side, finding new ingredients, or technology partners that we can work with where we can help them commercialize their ingredients. So we're looking to do more of that and maybe accelerate that.
It's been great talking to you. And as more company news comes out, I know you guys always share it and we'll help spread the word in the magazine. So great talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Micah.
All right. Talk to you later.